profound question. Now, I know that mankind has been battling with this question since time began. Back when there was only sticks and stones to tell a story, to the first theatre, all the way to YouTube. The question we have always asked ourselves is, what is content? What is content? What is it? Obviously, we're talking specifically now in the realms of YouTube and YouTube videos. What do people sit and digest? Well, I suppose the answer to that nowadays is anything. There is a audience and a crowd for everything. I've watched poorly made videos, poor quality videos, good quality videos, well made videos, well planned videos, completely rehearsed videos, videos on every single topic, every single level of quality, and I've seen people with views and having audiences. So everything is content, even if it's rubbish. So the question for me is, what do I want to do with my content? And how do I make money doing it? That's the main thing. So I'm, looking over the videos that I've done so far. There's plenty in regards to quality and editing that I need to pick up on. I am pretty new to this, or attempting. I have attempted before to make content. I did like a video game box thing ages ago, but I'm relatively new to sitting on my own and recording. It's weird. I feel it's harder to push your personality out, but I don't give a fuck because I am a dry, drab, and monotone guy, and that is initially boring, but give it some time and it'll be so boring it's funny. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with just doing normal talking how I would talk to myself. It's difficult because I suppose it's difficult when you're old because I don't have as many emotional spikes. We've all got like a fluctuating emotional pattern throughout the day for little bits of information that we pick up on. Now, by emotional, I mean things that might make me more expressive. I might not really care about it, but like if you're engaging with people, oh, why have you done that? That's a weird thing to do. Huh? Why didn't you put that there? Or, oh, that was amazing. That's great that you've done that. How did you think of that? Tell me. So, not having those engagements, I suppose I'm going to try and get it from reacting to videos, but nothing's going to annoy me. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it will. And if it doesn't, I have to learn to act those emotions out on camera. Not on camera. On the microphone. To give you a more wide range of my personality, but maybe also give you a chance to hear that I've not just got a monotone voice. I can switch it up. It does change a little bit now and then. Anyway, yeah, what is content? So yeah, I like reacting. I'm already just working on just reacting to things that I like because that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to talk to other people. That's something I'd like to do. Talk to people I'm interested in, or even just talk to people who are interested in the same people about those interesting people. Or all of that stuff. History, I'm a big fan of history. I don't think I've touched, well, I've had a little bit of autism history, but no other history. So I wonder if there's some history I could touch on today. We'll see. So yeah, what is content? Anyway, that's it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. What is content? But we'll figure that as we move along. Uh, yeah, so first thing I want to do, actually, is look at some old content of mine. Okay then, so let me tell you, around, I don't know, 3 years ago, I was on a mad writing binge and I decided to do a little WordPress just to get some writing practice out there. And I did like film reviews, game reviews, stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, I've decided I'm gonna have a read through some of them. Okay, let's go directly to the film reviews. Oh wait, let's just read that. Superscope. It was called Superscope or superscope6.wordpress.com. Welcome to Superscope, a place of geekish wonder and magnificent revelations. Sounds right. Right. What did we review? Look at these. We're just going to go we're going to go straight to the films, and we're going to go to the first one that I did. March, yep, here it is. On the 28th of March 2021, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie review. Here it is. There's the front cover. Great film. I remember watching this probably late 90s. Released in the mid-90s at the height of its arcade counterpart's popularity, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, is by far one of the best and worst manga movies you will see. Man, I don't remember writing this. Best and worst manga movies you will see. Why is it one of the worst? I'll find out soon. What's my grammar like? And it's here now, okay. With a plot that can be summed up as such, the US and Chinese governments want to bring down a terrorist organisation run by M. Bison, Shadow Law. Is it Shadow Law? This organisation wants to recruit the best street fighters for unspecified reasons, likely involving terrorising nations, and they are searching everywhere for our silent protagonist, Ryu. We all love Ryu. They find him at the same time as the US military representative Guile, and the final showdown ensues. Yeah, that's pretty much the film, isn't it? That's the film. In between this complex storyline, you can expect to see what fans of Street Fighter 2 would want to see. Fighting. It's true. The film is just that. Hey, Ryu beat up Sagat. Let's go. Let's find him. Anyone who can beat the crap out of Sagat deserves some attention, or something like that. That's what M. Bison says from memory. Most kids in the 90s knew who the characters were from the video game, but these games offered little in the way of personality. True. The movie gives a bit of insight into a number of lesser characters: Fei Long, the unsatisfied movie star; Nighthawk, the honor-seeking Native American; Vega, the card-carrying psychopath, quote, and E Honda, the jovial sumo wrestler. Yeah, me and my mate always used to chuckle at E Honda. I'm pretty sure we used to quote him. I can't think of any of his lines off the top of my head though. But yeah, he's definitely a jovial character. In regards to its lead characters, we learn a little more about them. Hard-faced, yeah, we learn a little more about. Yeah, it's probably a jab. we only learn a little bit. Hard-faced military veteran Guile actually has a soft side. Chun-Li, an international agent from China, wants revenge for her father's death. Ken Masters, our protagonist's long-lost best friend, is a brash dude who wants to beat Ryu and get married. M. Bison, the main antagonist for the game series, for the initial game series, to be fair, and film, is a maniacal terrorist intent on bringing world governments to their knees. And Ryu, the lead role. Oh, is there going to be a bit more on Ryu? Beginning the film as a wandering hermit who, quote, beat the crap out of Sagat. By the time the final showdown is over, we have not learnt much more about Ryu, other than perhaps he and is likely. Oh no, that's bad. Not as bad as the article I read the other day that was about the rapper Warcloud, but not good. He's likely to wander off in other directions without saying goodbye. That's true. I think he maybe. I think he definitely does it at the end. He does it at the end. It's not. It's not. It's not very nice. That maybe it's probably symbolic to some degree. But I had a friend who used to just disappear, and he didn't do it out of some sort of symbolic gesture of not wanting to say goodbye because it's not goodbye forever or something like that. He did it because he was weird. He was sneaky. I'll be honest, while I typically love manga films for their narratives, wouldn't have minded the film. I really wouldn't have minded the film focusing more on character development. In the 90s, and now to some extent, that was not what I was after for a Street Fighter 2 movie. I sought action. I get what I'm saying. From the opening Ryu vs Sagat scene, the tiny amount of story in the film is spliced with brilliant fighting. I am aware that at the time of writing this, comma in the wrong place. At the time of writing this, the film is now over 20 years old, and the visuals may be somewhat dated, though there is a HD version available. Still, some of these scenes that make up my favourite are as much about dialogue and tone as they are visual effects. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Without spoiling the outcomes, we see matchups between Ken and Nighthawk. That's a dope fight. Delsim and E Honda, Chun-Li vs Vega, Balrog vs E Honda. Yeah, that's a cool one. M Bison versus Ryu and Ken. And my personal favourite, Ryu vs Fei Long. Yeah, that's a cool fight. Everyone's there like putting money on Fei Long, and he does have, he hits Ryu with some moves, but Ryu doesn't really even need to get out of second gear. This latter duel is precluded with our antagonist being forced into a bout for making a smart aleck comment. Yeah, that's a weird thing. I always find that. I think I even found that weird then. It's like, what comment did he make? He kind of gets pushed onto a stage, onto a, a stage to fight. And wait, let me carry on reading. A surprise in itself, given his apparent humble nature. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like, why is he making smart aleck comments? With an entire crowd willing him to lose, Ryu makes short work of his opponent in the most bone-crunching of ways. That is, before he is challenged by house favourite and famous star Fei Long. This fantastic bout that showcases much of what we love about the games goes on for a bit longer than Ryu's prior. I think I just leave it with that, yeah. So I didn't ruin the outcome. Okay, I like it. Could have been worded a bit better. Outside of the fight scenes, there are probably two scenes of note that a young Oliver would have appreciated. As a grown-up, I will leave one of them in my youthful past and not mention. Wait, outside of the... Oh, yeah, okay. That's an allusion to Chun-Li. That's me just joking there, because I never even cared about that scene. Yeah, I could work on my joke. I don't mind putting that in there as a joke, but it's not. I haven't hit the mark properly there. As a grown-up, I will leave one of them in my youthful past and not mention. You are welcome to watch the film and speculate what this scene may be. Yeah, okay. The other is a 2-second clip that happens just before the Delsim and E Honda fight. As the camera pans across a nondescript street in India, sat by a wall with his legs crossed and iconic red hair, is Akuma. Everybody's favourite street fighting enigma. This was little more than an Easter egg for the geek level Street Fighter fan to catch, and I loved it. Yeah, I was a massive Street Fighter fan. I collected all the games. I didn't have all the videos, but I had a couple of the series, and I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was always like a Kuba somewhere in the background in those, but they weren't prominent. You had to go to like geeky gaming shops, which we didn't have in my town growing up. You had to go to like big cities and get them, and they'd always be there. So I only had one of them, one of those videos. So we're not even talking DVDs. You couldn't DVDs probably weren't there at that point, or they were just coming around. So yeah, but we had this film on. My brother had it on VHS from one of his friends who was also a big fan, who got me into the game, and I collected all the games. So I didn't know every bit of lore and story from like the TV, but I knew the games pretty well. But it was mainly collecting the games and playing them, so I was okay with most characters. Right. Having touched on the lack of narrative and character development, it would be fair to say that these are my biggest criticisms. Aside from them, I suppose I could poke holes at the stereotypical nature of the characters, with the hyperbolic jock-like Americans, Ken, Guile, and, for one scene, DJ, his scene is great, being perhaps the most obvious. The writers probably could have added some further depth to our main characters. I would personally have liked to argue for a bigger role for the British character Cammy, though given we don't get much from our leads, I'm asking for a bit much there. Okay, so it's not one of the worst films, unless of course you dislike 90s animes and fighting films, then I'd give it a miss. If not, have a watch. I would not suggest that the film is any more than a bit of 90s visual brain candy, and if you are a fan of the Street Fighter franchise or just cool fighting scenes, I would definitely suggest giving it a watch. So then I rated it a 6.5 out of 10, visually a 7 out of 10, and narrative 2.5 out of 10. One of my friends says I'm harsh with my judging, but I suppose the way I see things is like, a 5 is okay. A 6 is good. A 7 is very good. An 8 is very, very good. A 9 is very, very, very good. And 10 is excellent. So I just think 5 is okay. So anything above 5 is good. So 6.5, that's not a low score for me. So yeah, there you have it. The Street Fighter 2 animated movie. I'm not actually sure what year it came out. Anyway, let me just have a quick look what year it came out. There are other Street Fighter animated films. The Alpha 2, I think 2, maybe 3 now, but definitely 2 Alpha films that I had on. I had one on VHS, but I had them all on DVD. 94, wow, this came out in 94. No, yeah, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So maybe we should read one more. What was next up on the list? Oh, Man of Steel. It's a Man of Steel review. So we're going into, I think over the course of a few days, I watched all of these Justice League films, the DCEU, even the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut. Pretty sure that was like just as the Snyder cut was coming out as well. So I tried to get them down. Am I going to do all of them back to back? Yeah, why not? But maybe just not like now back to back. So then, Man of Steel review. Featuring all those dudes, basically from Zack Snyder, featuring Henry Cavill. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne's in it and Russell Crowe. I think this Russell Crowe Zod. What date did I do it on? I'm sure it did say. It was leading up to the release of the Snyder cut. Oh yeah, it probably says. Anyway, I'll get through this. It has taken me some 8 years to getting round to watching The Man of Steel. In all honesty, I may never have gotten there, but as I write this on the eve of the release of Justice League Snyder Cut, I find myself feeling the need to take in the prior films in this fractured and reborn version of the DC extended universe. Typically, I am drawn to the superhero films as I enjoy easy viewing while I complete other chores. Of late, I have been pulled into this current superhero cinematic trend through continuity related intrigue. So yeah, basically, I enjoy continuity and seeing it. So like. As I might say here, I am extremely impressed with the MCU's ability to pull what appears a never-ending amount of films into one narrative. Yeah, it felt like that. Now, I'm less impressed now with with how they've tried to jam pack all of these seasons in. I feel like if they just left the seasons alone and just focused on making good films, they would have been much better off. But anyway, the DCEU, on the other hand, has been a bit all over the place, but this space is not for analysing the complexity or lack of imagination in any one franchise. No, here is for film reviews, beginning with The Man of Steel. Most of us will be familiar with the classic rendition of Superman's origin story. An alien capsule carrying a baby lands in Kansas, and the baby is found and raised by a farmer and his wife. This baby is named Clark Kent, don't you know? News reporter who in his spare time is the super strong, super fast superhero we all know to be Superman. I feel like Superman was the first superhero. I know there was probably others before, but if the term superhero was used before Superman, it was probably to just describe people who were heroes, but on a super level. And that is essentially what we see here. Good. Similar to most modern day reboots, Man of Steel gives us a prologue to those events we are typically familiar with. A look at Clark's homeworld of Krypton on the brink of annihilation goes a long way to setting up the film's narrative while giving us an insight into the importance of Kal, aka Clark, that no other Superman movie has. The others do give you, some backstory. The overarching narrative is how I would expect a Superman origin film to go. After the prologue, we see a bit of Clark growing up. Here we see what a cracking job he does at maintaining his secret alien identity in the face of plenty adversity. Then, with the arrival of some badass Kryptonians, the Earth is threatened and Superman makes his entrance onto the world stage. Fighting, and then some more fighting takes place, with the film culminating in a black hole-sized penultimate fight. Ooh. That is right before Superman takes on the main antagonist in the ultimate fight. Now, I won't spoil the outcome, but I will say Superman makes it to another film. There really aren't all too many characters to focus on. Clark's parents, Jonathan and Martha. Is that their names? Is that their names? No way. Do their job. Did I get that right? Kevin Costner plays his dad. Yeah. Jonathan warns Clark that Earth will never accept him, and he's pretty wrong about that one. In the film, anyway. Lois Lane has a bit more history with the Man of Steel and perhaps takes on a more action research kind of role than in previous films. I was a big fan of Colonel Nathan Hardy of the US Army for reasons I'm not at liberty to discuss. Oh, look at me being all secretive and funny. The two characters that made this film for me were, as it probably should be, the protagonist Superman and his fellow Kryptonian General Zod, the antagonist bent on destroying Earth and restoring Krypton. I'm not sure that Cavill's take was particularly unique, but I get the sense that this movie was covering all our Superman tropes ready for the character to expand in subsequent films. General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, was my favourite character throughout. Shannon's Space Marine looking coup-inducing planet terraforming Kryptonian military leader is an archetypal bad guy with a singular goal that he will pursue to whatever end. Great stuff. Growing up, I was always a fan of the immense fighting power that was on display in Japanese anime Dragon Ball Z. So, with that, it is hardly a shock that my favourite scene specifically was the hand-to-hand fight between Superman and General Zod. While I wish it upon nobody, and cannot help but think of the innocent bystanders, the display of power when somebody gets thrown through a few buildings and grinds to a halt in the earth really gets me. Yeah, it still does. I love that. Of course, this has much to do with the cinematography of Cavill's flying and fighting abilities, but for those who like a visual treat of destruction, this fight should hit the spot. I've heard a number of people suggest that the film's biggest problem is Superman's seeming disregard for human life in climactic battle scene. Personally, I think the film makes enough about Cal's love for humanity that any disregard we might see was somewhat justified. I'm not sure what I mean by that. I think probably in terms of the narrative in the story that we know he's not like we know he doesn't really disregard humans. He loves them. But yeah. Anyway, knowing Clark, surely, knowing Clark, surely these events will be followed by some period of guilt. Yeah. For me personally, as a film genre I primarily watch for its flashing lights and big explosions, my biggest issue was one of ratio. For such a long time, just shy of 2.5 hours, there really is only about 20 minutes of fresh narrative. Perhaps without the film's prologue, I would have written it a, off as a one-dimensional action flick. But that chunk of narrative at the beginning, featuring Russell Crowe, oh yeah, Russell's his dad, as Cal's biological father, Jor-El, goes a long way to supplementing the rest of the story. So, with my aim to complete Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman in the next 30 hours, I am going to quickly conclude. I am actually a little surprised I hadn't seen this film prior to today, on the 16th of the 3rd, 2021. Given the action in the film, I would have thought it might have been a push on me by one of my. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I think I get it. Given the action in the film, I would have thought it might have been pushed on me by one of my superhero film loving friends, but no. While the DCEU appeared to have gone a bit pear shaped not long after this film's release, it feels like this. Would this be a different paragraph? No, it's not a different paragraph. This was a brilliant start to what could have been something special. I'll close with what might be a controversial statement. Man of Steel is better than Iron Man. Okay, yeah, fair enough. I can't make that comparison now in my head. I don't remember either of them well enough. But obviously, my feeling on the day of watching this was it was better than Iron Man. So cool. I gave it a rating of a 6, and as I explained on the last review I did, that's good. 5 is okay. 4 is starting to get, that's like in the bad, and 6 is getting the good. 7 visuals and 4 narrative. Right, yeah, makes sense. So there we have it, the Superman Man of Steel review by me on my old blog page. I say old, it was only 4 or 5 years ago. Now, should I move away? Should I move away from the film reviews? I've got a couple of other things I would like to cover. So, yeah, we'll move away. I may come back to a film review later, so I'll put it back there. The next one will be Batman vs Superman. Or do I want to do I want to switch it up so we haven't got all superhero films? Maybe interject all the others in between. There's 6 of them, and there's 9 of the others. But one is a superhero film. Yeah, I'm gonna have to mix them up because it'd be too boring just doing all the superhero films. That's what I'll do. But next up, we're going to have a little talk about horrorcore. So, horrorcore. I have discussed horrorcore a little bit, or my relationship with horrorcore over the years, a little bit on other videos and what my understanding had been. But just as a recap, I kind of I'd I'd heard horrorcore music before I even was a fully fledged hip hop fan. So I'm talking pretty young, pretty damn young, because I'd identified as being a hip hop fan early because of my older brother. But we'd been introduced to horrorcore or ICP, Insane Clown Posse, probably a year or so before that love of hip hop really sparked via a tape. It was a Welsh cousin or a second cousin or a fake cousin, when you're not really related. We'd gone to his house. In fact, he's a rapper. He's a rapper now. This is when we were just like young. I might not even have been a teen. We got to his house. He showed us ICP, give us a tape. It was the Great Malenko album, and it always stuck with me. Didn't know what horrorcore was then, but then in the early noughties, um, I think it was I kind of gravitate. I suppose I gravitated towards horrorcore as kind of this unique writing point, because me and my friends had started writing raps at this point, and around 2001, and I'm like, yeah, I do horrorcore raps, and you're just a kid thinking, yeah, look how cool I am doing gruesome raps. Maybe one of the influences there might have been Necro, because Necro was kind of the first underground rap that we got into, like recognizing, there's this underground scene. We'd kind of been into rappers who you would class as underground prior to Necro, but we didn't know what the underground scene was, and Necro was kind of my introduction to the underground scene, and then it expanded into all the other kind of sub genres and underground scenes. So yeah, I kind of dabbled in there, but I suppose my main purpose for this horrorcore spiel was kind of the communities back in the day. So I can remember getting the internet, it might have been 2000 or 2001, and we had AOL, so I kind of already had instant messenger, AIM, straight away because I was using the AOL internet. And I do wonder if I could still sign in on there. I wonder. We still had. I had AIM. Like in England, we mainly used to communicate in the early days MSN Messenger, Hotmail Messenger, but a lot of Americans that I noticed on forums tended to use AIM. And one of the forums I would frequent, I used to go on necrohiphop.com. I can remember some of the posts. I can remember posting, asking Necro if he was ever going to do like an alien type album, like Jedi Mind Tricks' first album, and I remember people giving me stick for it, sycophants. And Necro did then come out and say he did have plans for something like that, which I'm guessing ultimately became the Secret Society album that never got released. But anyway, that's a random. I also remember signing in at a friend's house and then leaving, and it was signed. It left signed in, signed in, and my friend, who was like, he wasn't a great friend. He was he was a spiteful friend. He went on and like posted like loads of derogatory things aimed at minorities or American minorities. Yeah, bad, bad. Anyway, that's the Necro forum. Another forum that I posted on where I probably was more part of the community because most people on there were kind of just, people making crap music, and I was one of them. It was horrorcore.com. So there was horrorcore.com forum, and I did find this on Reddit from 12 years ago. Any regulars? Any regulars over at that forum? Just a heads up for any stragglers who never knew what happened a few years ago. So maybe that was. Oh, that's gone now. Oh, okay. I don't know what this is in reference to, but I do remember maybe someone from Horrorcore Forum got sent down for something pretty gruesome. and it was definitely a big thing on the forum, and I think they were a prominent member. I don't think it was someone I'd ever actually communicated with or spoke to. I think I just like maybe loosely remembered the name, but certainly people I spoke to them and knew them. And that might have been what they're alluding to. I don't know, just a heads up for any stragglers who never knew what happened a few years ago. 12 years ago, that. Date now, 2025, 12 years ago would have been 2013. So, yeah, maybe. But it's not very active, this forum. Someone posted a year ago, Aaron Carter here, telepathic here, lol. Me no recall. I don't recognise those names. I do still speak to a couple of people from the Horrorcore forum. One was called Insanity. I think his rap name is now Squatch. I don't. Maybe I don't know. Squash, like Sasquatch. But he was like he was one of the few actual dope ass rappers from there. And then there's another I still speak to more on the regular because I considered him a friend, and his name was Jubei back then on the initial forums, but then he changed his rap name to One, like Omnipotent Never Ends, O.N.E. And yeah, I still speak to them. I mean, I speak to One as regularly as I can because like I say, I consider him a friend. We've had a friendship now for like 25 years. It's crazy. But I've never spoke to him actually on the phone or anything like that. Funnily enough, he's introduced me to people and I've spoke to them. So yeah, the Horrorcore forum. Now, what I planned on doing now was listening to a Jubei song, a One song that is dope. Uh, but now I'm thinking, because I've covered like the Horrorcore forum, that I might listen to a song that he did that's dissing a load of members, just so I can hear some of the names. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. It was called Clarification, and I think he did a few of them. I was gonna listen to Sounds of Beauty, which I wasn't able to find on YouTube, but I do have on my hard drive. And instead, I'm gonna listen to it was called Jubei at the time, so One Clarification, which is a diss song, and that was like my introduction to the like when I got in there. That was like he was like a very active member, and it's weird because I always knew he was older, but he must have been the kid. He must have at that point. He must have been like 20, maybe younger. No, he was probably younger. He was probably 18, and I was probably like 14. Crazy. Yeah, hip hop. He might. I don't know. I don't even know how old the dude is. I've known him for that long, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna. I'm gonna have to find a visual because it's on my hard drive, and I don't want or I don't want to just be sat staring at something crap. Omnipotent never ends. Let's just search that, and we'll search a picture. Hmm. That's a nice picture. Can we get a big version? Can we get it? Save it. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. Oh, look at that. Let's save that. Anyway. Okay then. So, what we are checking is my old friend Jubei Clarification. He was called Jubei when he made this track, then he became One Omnipotent Never Ends, hence the picture here. I've only got it on my hard drive, so just finding it, there it is. And this was a track basically dissing members of the horrorcoreforum.com. I haven't listened to it. I've listened to it since then. It's probably been, I don't know, could be anywhere between 5 and 10 years since I last heard it, so we'll go for it. Let's do this. One Clarification. Oh yes, we have a sample from the film Ninja Scroll where Jubei is from.
Thanks to your interference, Jubei, we lost 300 pieces of gold. I can't go back empty-handed.
Well, perhaps you won't have to go back completely empty-handed, right?
Jubei beating some people on a bridge, if I remember correctly. Eating a ball of rice. That's just a random memory. I might be wrong. He might be eating a ball of rice, yeah, kind of carefree.
Then it's true? They hired you for only 20 pieces of gold, Jubei?
Yeah.
But the sword we stole was a precious treasure given by the
I wonder
Shogun.
if it has relevance to
And they're
Hay. I'm
paying you
sure
only
it
20
rings a
pieces of
bell.
gold for getting it
Maybe,
back for
maybe
them.
he was asked because some people were picking on people, so he just
You
came back
fool.
and dissed them.
They're a poor, small clan. You can't swindle 300 pieces of gold for a sword. You're asking too much.
One's
You're
voice
the
is a
fool.
dope rap
Shut
voice,
up!
I shall
Damn
say.
you!
Yo, fuck this.
Here we go. Diss track time. Is it
My
louder?
name is Jubei Yagyu. I was commanded by the Shogun.
This is strictly clarification. I rock for the hip hop nation, but the game is whack and got me going through aggravation. So to my enemies, this joint's a fuck you, and to my fans, a simple note of appreciation. A reminder that I got you under any situation, from pens to gas blazing with no hesitation. Hey yo, it's an open and shut case. You suck, Wayne. You couldn't rhyme tight if you was a virgin dame who rapped out at pussy at free shows for some fucking change.
You suck, Wayne. So we've got our first diss. Wayne, you're getting diss, lad. Wayne from Horrorcore.com back in the early noughties.
Face it, kid, you're fucking lame. Oh, and I don't give a fuck about schizo.
Oh, Schizo, you're about to get it. We just heard that Wayne is lame. Schizo. Here we go.
Fat slob, I'm a slit your wrist for
Oh.
some fucking change. Face it, kid, you're fucking lame. Oh, and I don't give a fuck about schizo. You fat slob, I'm a slit your wrist.
Oh, he's a fat slob. There you go, Schizo. Burned.
So bad this time, you won't fail the shit show. Can't forget about this hoe, the bitch known as arch hypocritical.
I don't know who he said there, but you can hear the rhyming, the multi-syllable bars, which is cool. It's I mean, it's on point. It's definitely definitely evolved into a more precise rapper, I would say, in terms of delivery.
Oh, and I don't give a fuck about schizo. You fat slob, I'm a slit your wrist. So bad this time, you won't fail the shit show. Can't forget about this hoe, the bitch known as arch hypocritical retard, wicked bad.
Arch, Varch.
I'm a slit your wrist. So bad this time, you won't fail the shit show. Can't forget about this hoe, the bitch known as arch hypocritical.
The bitch known as Zarch. The bitch known as Arch. Someone will have to tell me. Let me know.
Retard, wicked backpacking, confused bastard. Yeah, arch kills ants and mosquitoes, but arch don't kill people. The 16-year-old
Always remember that. Yeah, Arch kills ants and mosquitoes, but not people. But don't do that to people.
hypocritical retard, wicked backpacking, confused bastard. Yeah, arch kills ants and mosquitoes, but arch don't kill people. The 16-year-old child is simply confused. He ain't that evil. Tragic son, I got you. But now even cats who were once cool are pissing me off, so fuck them too, right, fool? If it ain't iron,
Right,
really,
fool.
really confused. He ain't that evil. Tragic son, I got you. But now even cats who were once cool are pissing me off, so fuck them too, right, fool? If it ain't iron, Philly.
Right, foo. So it might have been fool, right, fool, but it could have been foo, a person. Dissing Foo, Arch, Schizo, and Wayne. And now we're going to talk about Iron Star affiliation. Iron Star Record was, as all of us had, we all had a little record label that we named, because you've got to, haven't you? It was probably just us and a couple of friends on it, but I was an Iron Star affiliate, definitely.
Divine prophecy, 2-6, sub 6, and third ship related. My Time, work, and patience will come out your wages. And I could never forget my fans. Bad Mind and Cap One. It's all love till death.
Oh, so there's a shout out to Bad Mind and Cap One, probably also members of Horrorcore Forum, his fans, good stuff.
Even then, I crawled out my coffin for y'all out of mutual respect. Same goes for Mad Swirl.
Mad Swirl.
Production's so hot, it'll snap your neck like Torch's mom sucking me off. Yeah, she's a...
Yeah, Mad Swirl. Mad Swirl's beats are like Torture's mum giving fellatio to Jubei. So, well done to Mad Swirl and Torture, your mum. Boom. Well done.
Mad Swirl. When production's so hot, it'll snap your neck like Torch's mom sucking me off. Yeah, she's a bad girl. This is strictly clarification. I rock for the hip-hop nation. But the game is whack and got me going through aggravation. So to my enemies, this joint's a fuck you. And to my fans, a simple note of appreciation. A reminder that I got you under any situation. From pens to gats blazing with no hesitation.
Excellent.
In time, you'll get slapped with the devil's hand. And my own, covered in iron and leave a body count that rivals Jim Jones. I'm a divine power
Maybe I
with
need
my
to
ass
turn it
on
down.
the
I feel
golden
like
throne. Aiming on my right and
my
beating
voice
on my
might not
left.
be loud
I'm
enough.
sick of cats
We'll
trying to
see.
test when I can rip a hole through their vest with my shell scent.
Go on, shell set, lad.
You swear I was hell sent. And who's the real throat slitter? That was a weak attempt to jack my title. I earned that in something you're too scared to do, punk. Battle. Well, at least you dissed me, even though it was
Oh,
done
who dissed
incorrectly.
you?
So as far as I'm concerned, it was hell sent. And who's the real throat slitter? Golden throne. Aiming on my right and beating on my left. I'm sick of cats trying to test when I can rip a hole through their vest with my shell scent. Verbals pack so much heat, you swear I was hell sent. And who's the real throat slitter? That was...
You are hell sent, absolutely. But you're working for the forces of good. I can see it and I can hear it in your earnest words. Maybe that was just a reference to a person anyway. Throat slitter, maybe.
A weak attempt to jack my title. I earned that in something you're too scared to do, punk. Battle. Well, at
Rhyming
least you
battle
dissed
and
me,
title,
even
that's
though it was
impressive.
done incorrectly, so as far as I'm concerned, you still a sissy. All beef with Tem Steve is squash. Like Torture score when I see him face to mask.
Score.
I'm just clarifying this for those who care and ask. One
Yeah,
love for
this is
shocking
Score.
and spore. Both of you my
Shout out
dogs.
Sport.
Mad Insanity too. I support you from rat to slapping hoes jaws. And I can't end this without
Whoa,
considering
supporting
reinvention.
domestic
My
violence,
dirty
dude.
South niggas quick to
Chill.
make the game feel tension. And one love to Demented. This is strictly clarification.
Shout out
I rock
Dimension,
for the hip-hop nation.
wherever
The
you're at
game is
now.
whack and got me going through aggravation. So to my enemies, this joint's a fuck you. And to my fans, a simple note of appreciation. A reminder that I got you under any situation.
Let's go.
From pens to gats blazing with no hesitation. Rags, keep your head up, dog. Fuck the haters. You got mad potential, son. In due time, you...
Keep your head up, Rags. I hope you haven't let the haters get to you. Honestly, lad, wherever you are now, I'm thinking about you, Rags.
Show them all your flavor. That goes from pinnacle to synthetic. Paradox to elite status. And all my real niggas on the front lines. Can I get a woo-hoo one time?
Are all of these guys, maybe you'll listen to this and you can tell us, are all of these people horrorcore.com people? Or some of them maybe just your crew?
Cause I forever got aimings back like a dolphin's dorsal. The breed, nigga, will make you bleed, nigga. The PM will also grab your lungs and squeeze,
Yeah,
nigga.
the Prime
I got
Minister,
no time
or the
for
PM
bullshit
Night
games.
Demons.
Nor do I have time for Netsies happy with their bullshit fame. So for the
Netsies.
final and last time on the track,
You don't hear that anymore, Netsies, but that was a thing you used to hear because there was a time where you were expected to do, like, well, if you just posted songs online, that meant you were a Netsy. So you needed some sort of proof that you at least did that on a live track. So you put music out, put CDs out, because it was CDs before streaming. But so like streaming, which is the way now, uploading your songs online, that was a Netsy back in the day. But obviously it's the norm, it's common, that's what you do. So yeah, there you go, there's some history of a word that has completely gone. Netsy. Raspberry Netsy.
squeeze, nigga. I got no time for bullshit games. Nor do I have time for Netsies happy with their bullshit fame. So for the final and last time on the track, I'll call your bullshit
Here
name.
we go.
Fuck Torture,
Yeah.
fuck Wayne, fuck your net label and fuck your life. 20 years from now, either ugly as fuck or a dime, kid, I'll fuck your wife. I told you,
That wasn't enough disses there, man. We need more.
faggot, I don't play. I'll make human souffle out of Teresa's legs after she's gang raped. Make you eat it and leave you like.
Why? Why indeed? Why? Why end with that? Anyway, there it is, Jubei. A friend and a very good rapper. That's definitely a long way from one of his best tracks. A long shot off one of his best tracks. Got some really good tracks. Also done a track with Cage as well. People know Cages. That will be worth checking one day. So yeah, excellent. So yeah, there we have it. I feel like moving on. I can get rid of them. I feel like moving. I need to get through at least another Rhyme Asylum song just to get the album finished. But is there anything else I wanted to touch on before I do that? Or maybe I'll save it for after. I'll save it for after. So yeah, I'm on to Test of Faith. Okay, so here we have the 7th song, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. Track 8 on Rhyme Asylum, State of Lunacy, Test of Faith. Nice beat. Oh, nice string, sorry.
I felt like a worthless child that needs to gain faith, and I keep a straight face cause it hurts to smile. Countless times of running away, I had an upbringing of tough living, and my mother's to blame. Was never far from crime, drugs and vandalism. My father died quite young as a cancer victim. My heart was broken, that's when I started smoking, cause I couldn't take the thought of my father going.
Oh, yeah, deep. It's a deep song so far. The beat reflects that, I think. I think it's hard to judge the whole album because I'm only listening to this track, but I know the whole album well. It still matches and balances tone because the album is a dark tone. It's mainly kind of macabre imagery, vivid stuff, picture, somewhat picturesque. This song, yeah, deep, but it kind of still fits in with the tone of the album.
Countless times of running like a worthless. I felt like a worthless child that needs to gain faith, and I keep a straight face cause it hurts to smile. Countless times of running away, I had an upbringing of tough living, and my mother's to blame. Was never far from crime, drugs and vandalism. My father died quite young as a cancer victim. My heart was broken, that's when I started smoking, cause I couldn't take the thought of my father going. It forever scarred my mind. In my teenage years as the delinquent with some of my hardest times. Had to leave the past behind, it's my time to grow. Decided to come to the church and try and find a home. And as time passed, began going down the right path. Life starts again, and so I found my kind heart.
So it's worth saying, it's a standard of dope multi-syllable rhymes for these Rhyme Asylum guys. So I judge them on top of that. So they are dope always with their multi-syllables, like pretty much always, like 95% of the time they all have dope multi-syllable rhymes. That is their standard. Whether this is I'm inclined to believe this is a true story. It makes it that much more deeper, and it's touching. It's touching.
Home, and as time passed, began going down the right path. Life starts again, and so I found my kind heart. This life I chose, I crossed my heart and promised that my relationship with God will always last the longest. I'm gaining my faith, and I'm losing the pain. I make my own destiny, and I'm choosing my fate. And I pray that God has mercy on my soul. Yeah, I pray that God has mercy on my soul.
And I'm losing my faith, but I'm gaining the pain. The end is near, now I just wait for the day. And I pray that God has mercy on my soul. Yeah, I pray that God has mercy on my soul. I spent most of my life trying to guide souls to the light. Along the way I lost my faith and my devotion in Christ. Haunted by the darkness of doubt, closing my eyes. Have I followed teachings of a book totally blind? Who truly wrote the first editions? Am I living by the Lord's words of wisdom or a work of fiction?
This verse is a little bit more ambiguous, I'd say. Dope rhymes, but less specific and less seemingly personal, but still dope.
Totally blind. Who truly wrote the first editions? Am I living by the Lord's words of wisdom or a work of fiction? I can't honestly serve religion when as a priest I've gradually lost trust in all church tradition. My test of faith, and as an educated man can't believe God created everything in 7 days. Will I pass through heaven's gates and reach a better place when I've accepted money from the poor in my collection plate? Any exceptions for a Catholic priest? Cold is the heart of man.
So yeah, interesting. It is personal. It actually is personal, I suppose. I mean, it's a test of faith. It says it in the track. So yeah, good, consistent. The the title of the track makes sense. He is pretty much literally talking about having a Christian faith tested. So yeah.
Deafening the sound of chattering teeth, transformed from a man to a beast, or are these the bitter rantings of a victim to the cancer disease?
I'm gaining my faith and I'm losing the pain. I make my own destiny and I'm choosing my fate. And I pray that God has mercy on my soul. Yeah, I pray that God
Good
has
chorus.
mercy on my soul.
And I'm losing my faith, but I'm gaining the pain. The end
And I
is
think
near. Now I just
these
wait for
two
the
guys'
day.
voices
that God
work
has
really well
mercy on
together.
my
The
soul. Yeah, I
contrast.
pray that God has mercy on my soul.
I'm gaining my faith and I'm losing the pain. I make my own destiny and I'm choosing my fate. And I pray that God has mercy on my soul. Yeah, I pray that God has mercy on my soul.
And I'm losing my faith, but I'm
We're
gaining
just
the
chorusing
pain.
it all the way to the end, guys. Come on, let's get a little fit, couple of 8 bars in there.
God has mercy on my soul. Please.
Please. Oh. Yeah, cool, solid track. I thought the first verse was probably the best of the two for the personal aspect. Oh, we got some sort of
I've
shower.
seen things you people wouldn't believe.
What have you seen?
All those moments will be lost in time,
True.
like tears
Oh no.
in rain.
This guy's making me question my existence.
Time to die.
Oh no, I knew it. I don't want to. Can't we just stay in a state of lunacy, please? Moving on from that, I might just call it a day, or call it a daytime. Go and do some jobs, and then come back in a bit, and maybe see about doing some non-hip-hop reactions. Let's see about that then. Okay. Ta-ra. Ta-ra, ta-ra, ta-ra.